You know that feeling when someone gives you just enough attention to keep you hoping, but never enough to make you feel secure. That text that comes at midnight after 3 days of silence. The plan that always gets cancelled, but they promise next time will be different. The affection that shows up only when it's convenient for them. And somehow you find yourself grateful for these crumbs. You find yourself thinking, maybe this is enough. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Here's what I want you to know right now. If you've ever accepted less than you deserve in a relationship, it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're broken or damaged or unworthy. It means you're human. And somewhere along the way, you learn to make yourself smaller to fit into someone else's half-hearted effort. But that pattern, it's costing you more than you realize. Let me ask you something. Have you ever waited by your phone hoping they'd text? Have you ever changed your plans just in case they finally wanted to see you? Have you ever convinced yourself that the bare minimum was actually proof they cared? If you're nodding right now, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't about them. Not really. This is about what you've unconsciously learned to accept as love. There's a psychological concept called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle that makes slot machines so addictive. You don't get rewarded every time. You get rewarded just enough to keep you playing, just enough to keep you hoping that the next pull will be the big win. And that's exactly what's happening in these relationships. They give you just enough warmth, just enough attention, just enough affection to keep you invested, but never enough to make you feel truly valued. Studies in behavioral psychology show that intermittent reinforcement creates stronger attachment than consistent positive reinforcement. In other words, the person who treats you well sometimes and terribly other times can actually create a more intense emotional bond than someone who treats you well all the time. Your brain becomes addicted to those moments of validation because they're unpredictable. You start chasing the high of their attention because you never know when it's coming. And that uncertainty, it hijacks your nervous system. But here's what nobody tells you. The reason you accept these crumbs isn't because you don't know you deserve better. Deep down, you know. The reason you accept them is because somewhere in your past, you learned that love comes with conditions, that affection is something you have to earn, that your needs are too much, that asking for more makes you needy or dramatic or difficult. Maybe you grew up in a household where love was inconsistent, where you had to read the room before expressing what you needed, where emotional availability depended on someone else's mood. Maybe your first relationship taught you that love means waiting, that real connection requires suffering, that if you just try hard enough, eventually they'll see your worth. Or maybe you've simply internalized the cultural message that being low maintenance makes you lovable, that being understanding means accepting whatever someone is willing to give. And here's the heartbreaking truth. When you accept crumbs, you're not just settling in that relationship. You're teaching yourself that you're not worth the full meal. You're reinforcing a story about yourself that says, I'm lucky to get even this much. And every time you make excuses for their behavior, every time you lower your standards, every time you convince yourself that maybe you're expecting too much, you're moving further away from the person you're meant to become, further away from the love you actually deserve. I want to share something with you. A few years ago, I worked with a woman named Sarah, brilliant, accomplished, kind. She came to me completely exhausted from a relationship where she was getting the absolute minimum. He'd text her late at night when he was bored. He'd make plans and cancel them last minute. He'd disappear for days, then reappear with some charming excuse, and she kept accepting it. She kept telling herself that he was busy, that he was going through something, that she needed to be more patient. One day, I asked her a simple question. If your best friend told you her partner treated her this way, what would you say to her? She looked at me and without hesitation said I'd tell her to run. I'd tell her she deserves so much better. I'd tell her she's being taken advantage of. And then she started crying because she realized she'd never give herself the same compassion she'd give someone she loved. She realized she was operating from a version of herself that believed she needed to earn love instead of simply receiving it. So how do you break this pattern? How do you stop accepting crumbs and start requiring the respect you deserve? Let me give you 5 strategies that will fundamentally shift how you show up in relationships. Strategy number 1. Get clear on what crumbs actually look like. Because here's the thing, sometimes we've normalized poor treatment for so long that we can't even recognize it anymore. Crumbs are inconsistent communication. If someone only reaches out when it's convenient for them, that's a crumb. Crumbs are cancelled plans without real accountability. If they keep saying next time but next time never comes, that's a crumb. Crumbs are affection that disappears the moment you need something. If they're present when things are easy but gone when you're struggling, that's a crumb. Crumbs are promises without follow-through. Words mean nothing without action, and crumbs are making you feel like you're asking for too much when you're actually asking for the basics. If wanting consistency, respect, and effort makes you feel needy, you're accepting crumbs. Write these down. Get specific about what you've been tolerating, because you cannot change what you won't acknowledge. And the first step to demanding more is recognizing how little you've been accepting. Strategy number 2, understand the difference between patience and denial. There's a beautiful quality in being patient with someone who's genuinely trying, someone who communicates openly about their struggles, someone who shows up imperfectly but consistently. But patience is not waiting around for someone to decide you're worth their effort. Patience is not making excuses for behavior that disrespects your time and emotional energy. And patience is definitely not convincing yourself that inconsistency is the same as complexity. Ask yourself this: are they showing you through their actions that they value you? Or are you creating a story in your head about who they could become if only you wait long enough? Because here's the truth: potential is not a relationship, hope is not a strategy, and your job is not to fix someone into loving you properly. Strategy number 3, stop rewarding bad behavior with your presence. Every time you accept a crumb, you're teaching that person that this level of effort works, that they can give you the bare minimum and still keep you around, that they don't have to change because you'll be there anyway. And I know why you do it. You're afraid that if you create a boundary, they'll leave. You're afraid that if you ask for more, you'll lose even the little you have. But here's what you need to hear. If someone walks away because you require respect, they were never going to give you what you need anyway. And holding on to crumbs is just delaying the inevitable while destroying your self-worth in the process. This doesn't mean you become cold or withholding. It means you match their energy. It means you stop being more invested than they are. It means you create space for them to step up or step out. And yes, that's terrifying. But it's also the only way to find out if this relationship has real potential or if you've been building a fantasy on a foundation of breadcrumbs. Strategy number 4, reconnect with your non-negotiables. Somewhere along the way, you lost sight of what you actually need in a relationship. Not what you want, not your wish list, but the fundamental things that make a relationship healthy and sustainable. Things like consistent communication, mutual respect, emotional availability, follow through on commitments, being treated as a priority, not an option, feeling safe to express your needs without being made to feel like you're too much. These aren't unreasonable demands. These are the basics of any functional relationship. But when you've been accepting crumbs for so long, basic respect starts to feel like a luxury. It starts to feel like you're asking for too much. And that's how you know you've lost touch with your own worth. Write down your non-negotiables, not from a place of ego or control, but from a place of self-respect. What do you absolutely need to feel valued in a relationship? What behaviors are you no longer willing to tolerate? And then here's the hard part. Actually honor those boundaries, because a boundary without enforcement is just a suggestion, and suggesting to someone that they should treat you well rarely works. Strategy number 5. Build a life that doesn't need crumbs to feel full. Here's the real issue. When your sense of worth is tied to someone else's validation, any attention feels like a gift. Any affection feels like a win, because internally, you're running on empty. You're looking for someone else to fill a void that only you can fill. And that makes you vulnerable to accepting less than you deserve, because something feels better than nothing. But what if you built a life so rich, so full, so aligned with who you are, that inconsistent affection felt like an interruption instead of a prize? What if you invested in your friendships, your passions, your growth, your peace, in a way that made you genuinely content with your own company? What if you stopped waiting for someone to choose you and started choosing yourself so completely that anyone who wanted access to your life had to meet you at your level? This isn't about playing hard to get. This isn't about pretending you don't care. This is about genuinely filling your own cup so that you're not desperate for someone else to give you drops. Because when you're full, you can clearly see when someone's offering you crumbs. And more importantly, you won't be tempted to accept them. Let me tell you what happens when you stop accepting crumbs. At first, it feels lonely. It feels like you're being too picky or too demanding. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're pushing away someone who could have been great if you just gave them more time. And that discomfort is real, but it's also necessary, because on the other side of that discomfort is clarity. You start to see patterns you couldn't see before. You start to recognize red flags earlier. You start to trust your instincts instead of overriding them with hope. And most importantly, you start to respect yourself in a way you never have before. You realize that being alone is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Being in a relationship where you feel alone is. You realize that standards don't make you difficult, they make you discerning. And you realize that the right person won't make you feel like your needs are too much. They'll make you feel like meeting your needs is a privilege. Here's what I want you to understand. You have been conditioned to believe that love is hard, that relationships require suffering, that if you're not anxious, you're not really in love. But that's not love. That's trauma bonding. That's attachment issues disguised as passion. Real love is not supposed to make you feel small. It's not supposed to make you question your worth. It's not supposed to leave you constantly wondering where you stand. Real love is steady. It's consistent. It's someone showing up not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. It's someone who sees your needs not as demands, but as an invitation to love you better. It's someone who makes you feel safe enough to be yourself without performing or shrinking or pretending that less is enough. And you are worthy of that love right now, not when you're thinner or more successful or less emotional or more agreeable. Right now, exactly as you are, with all your complexity and needs and standards and depth. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to prove it. You just need to believe it enough to stop settling for anything less. So here's my challenge for you. For the next 30 days, I want you to practice something radical. I want you to treat yourself the way you wish someone would treat you. I want you to show up for yourself consistently. I want you to honor your own commitments. I want you to speak to yourself with the kindness you give to others. And I want you to notice how it feels to stop abandoning yourself while waiting for someone else to choose you. Because the relationship that matters most is the one you have with yourself. And when that relationship is strong, when that relationship is full, when that relationship is non-negotiable, you won't have space for crumbs anymore. You won't have tolerance for inconsistency, and you won't mistake someone's minimal effort for love. You'll know the difference between someone who's interested and someone who's invested. You'll know the difference between potential and reality, and you will have the courage to walk away from anything that asks you to be less than you are. This is not about becoming cold or closed off or impossible to please. This is about becoming so rooted in your own worth that you do not need external validation to know you matter. This is about recognizing that you've always been enough, and anyone who makes you feel otherwise doesn't deserve access to your heart. You've spent enough time accepting crumbs. You've spent enough time making excuses. You've spent enough time convincing yourself that maybe this is all you deserve. And I'm here to tell you that story ends today. You deserve the whole damn meal. And the moment you truly believe that, everything changes. If this resonated with you, I want you to watch my next video where I talk about how to break the cycle of attracting emotionally unavailable people. Because stopping the acceptance of crumbs is only the first step. Understanding why you keep ending up in these situations is how you break the pattern for good. I'll see you there. Now, if you have received this message in your heart and feel that it resonated deeply with you, please confirm the receipt of this divine energy by leaving the number 333 in the comments below. This number symbolizes the constant presence of the angels around you, and by confirming it, you will be signaling your openness to continue this journey of transformation. Also, if you are not yet part of our community, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell. This way, you will be up to date with all the upcoming messages from the angels that we will bring especially for you. Don't miss the next video, where we will bring more inspiration, love, and divine wisdom to guide your path. May the peace and light of the angels be with you every step of your journey. Stay tuned, because the best is yet to come. Until the next video, and may the angels continue to bless your life with love and light.